I mean, you can see now there's this huge vacuum for a race director in Formula One. I mean, they had
Yeah.
Michael. They had Michael. I know Michael very well because I worked with him a lot, previously. And when Charlie unfortunately passed away, Michael came in. And was he ready for it? Not sure. And so, there was that. And then now they have Eduardo and they have, sorry, I know Eduardo very well, but I don't know the
Oh.
other guy, Wittich. I don't know him, but you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about them, and I mean they're very good. They've got years and years of experience. But Charlie was unique, and that's the other problem that getting back to what we were saying before. Some of the stuff that's going on now is because of the lack of respect, lack of history, I would say, between the
Yeah. So,
teams and the guy. Charlie would never. They would never have done what they did with Michael Massi with Charlie Whiting. First of
yeah.
all, Charlie would have squashed it in a second, but they wouldn't have even tried. They just wouldn't have tried, and I'm very familiar with the dynamic, but having been on that side of the fence, or well, both sides of the fence actually, I'm very familiar with the dynamic between the teams and the organization, with between the sporting side and the team side about
Yeah.
how they push and how you push back, and a lot of it is to do with the fact that they feel you out. They try to see where this is all about looking for weaknesses, right? So, and then exploiting weaknesses for an advantage. That's the whole game of motorsport. And if they see any kind of, insecurity, inexperience, whatever it is, they're going to jump on it straight away and they're going to exploit it to the fullest. So, I think a lot of what happened and what's happening is to do with these kind of things. So, it's a big problem for the sport. I think it's a huge problem for the sport right now. And I don't know that there's an easy solution to it, because I think it's cultural, I mean, globally cultural,
Right.
now. And I don't know how you fix it, really. I don't know how you fix it. It's generational. So I think we're going to have to move more and more towards the technological solutions. But at the
I
end of
mean,
the day, I mean, like track limits is a great example, right? There are certain technological solutions to that. In Australia, they do it very well. I mean, I must say, in Australia, they simply have a sensors on the curbs.
right.
You go over it, and you get a penalty. It's automatic. It's really, I mean, ultimately the penalty is given by the people still, but the judgment is just a technological solution, right? So I think sooner or later you're going to end up with stuff like that. Why they haven't done that um, in Formula One, I don't really know. But in any case, what I'm saying is, if you don't have the expertise, eventually we're going to have to go in the technology route, and just make it like A and B. And it might be better, but it'll be what it'll be. I mean, people are adjust to whatever system you end up with. It's only an issue on that day. That's why
Mm.
different things come up and go down. Because people focus on different areas for a while, and then they let it go, and there's something else comes up. So it's a certain amount of that going on.
I mean, you made a great point about Charlie and the respect, the historical respect in that. Now that you think about it, it's like, yeah, Charlie passed away, and it's like the team managers, Toto, Christian, all these guys are, hey, here's the gap. Now we can start, you know, pushing the limits, and let's see how far we can get away with things, saying
Sure.
things and doing things. Do you think, going back to Michael Massey, that, I mean, what are your thoughts about how he was treated after the finale of last year and the Abu Dhabi debacle, as they say?
Uh, I mean, how he was treated, I think is, I don't know whether I really have a view on how he was treated. I think, unfortunately, he was in a position in the end that was untenable. I don't know how you go forward. Um, having had that problem, I don't know how you really go forward. If they'd stood behind him, I think he would have had a very hard time, you know. So I kind of feel that they had to remove him, rightly or wrongly. I don't really want to comment about that. I have my own views about it. I'm not a fan of what happened. I understand how it came to what happened, you know. I'm not really a fan of the outcome of it. I don't think it was the best solution, but I really understand in the heat of the moment how it came to that, you know. And all these conspiracy theories about, they tried to manipulate this, they tried to manipulate that. I think that's nonsense. You know, there was no manipulation of anything. I think, yeah, there might have been an overriding pressure, which you'll never know from the, there may have been this kind of blanket overriding pressure to make the show, but I think that the making the show thing also came from the teams, because they had that gentleman's agreement of, that they should finish as a race. They should finish it as a race, right?
Which is fair enough.
Yeah, but not really. I mean, I've had races where I really wish they would have finished as a race, but actually the rule is that the safety car pulls into the pit lane and then the cars accelerate to the line. So you never finish a race with the safety car in front anyway. Right. So the final shot, even if you have a safety car finish, right? Because you're not allowed to overtake before the finishing line, right?
Yeah.
So even if when you finish under safety car, actually the safety car goes into the pit lane, and then the last corner and up to the line, for the reasons of, taking photos and video and everything, whatever it is, right? You always see the race finish with just the racing cars on the track. Okay. So that's how it works. So you would have had a pictorial finish, that would have been okay, acceptable. And effectively they are racing at that point, The point is whether or not you let them race for the last couple of laps. But, I don't think that it was done correctly by the rules. I'm not saying, who's at fault or not. But what I'm saying is that procedurally I don't see how it worked. But I understand the pressure. I mean, I've been in race control. It's really a hard job. And that's where, you need the years and years of experience. You need to be able to stand up to the pressure. You need to be able to make split-second decisions. You need and be right. And, it's really easy to make a mistake, which, like, even let's say 5 minutes later, when you haven't got all these 5, 6, 10 other things going on, your mind's clearer and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't the right thing. I should have done this, I mean, I think we've all been in that situation where you're under pressure, you make a split-second decision, and then, like, in the cold light of day, you kind of go, how did I think that? It was obvious that I should have done this instead, but unfortunately in that moment, that's why I don't think you can be too hard on the decisions that were made, because I've sat in that seat. I know how hard it is to make those decisions, and that's not for a Formula One World Championship, so I have real sympathy for Michael's situation. And I just think that it was, unfortunately, he ended up being at the front of something which has underlying issues throughout the sport, which, yeah, they've tried to address some of it now, by bringing, by separating out the powers, by doing different things. I don't know whether, I don't agree with this, two race director thing. I think that's crazy. You need consistency. And even if you have two guys, brief them identically, they're going to make different decisions because they have different judgment. You can't change that. And I think that's a mistake, for sure.
But that was the point with Michael, though. It wasn't just Abu Dhabi. There were several races during the season that were obvious that, hang on, the decision should have been this, not that.
Yeah, I mean,
there was no consistency during the whole season, really.
But but this is the point: is, like, people are going. It's the same. Like, football is a good analogy. When you're looking at these things, referees make judgment calls, right? They make judgment calls. Now they have VAR that overturns some of them, doesn't overturn other ones, right? But they have that opportunity in football to sort of stop everything, go and have a look at it and go, oh, actually, you made a mistake there. You need to do this. In motorsport, you never get that opportunity. The race goes on. You don't get to stop everyone and go, hold on a minute, let's sort this out. Maybe it was a mistake. That call was a mistake. So let's go and have a look at it and see whether it was right or wrong. And, oh, no, you made a mistake there. So, okay, we're going to do something different. You know?
Yeah.
You don't get that opportunity in motorsport. You know, you live and stand on, you know, you live and die on your decision in that split second with all that pressure, with that split second view, with all those different things. And, you know, sometimes your view in race control, I mean, it's not as good as people think it is. You know, you've got 40 odd screens, you know, you're looking at a video. Sometimes it's not showing you the thing that you need to see in the right way. It's got angles. You know, it's a very hard thing. It's a very hard job. And so, you know, and as I said, and then you've got people shouting at you. He was trying to clear up another incident. You know, you've got all these outside factors going on. So, you know, yeah, he's going to make some judgment calls. And he didn't have the experience of Charlie. You know, you know, you're talking about somebody who it was his second year, right? Second year. I think it was his second year, right?
Yeah.
I think he came in halfway through. So kind of just over a year, because it was halfway through. He came in at the beginning of the year before, right? And then he ran that season, and then it was the second season, right? Correct or not? Am I right?
Yeah, well, when did Charlie go?
It was
Charlie
in Australia,
18
was it?
or something, right? Yeah, it was the start of the season. Charlie died in Melbourne.
Yeah,
Was
the
it
previous
18?
season,
I
wasn't
think
it?
it was 18, yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was
It's not.
no.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
it
think
was the
Charlie went
season
in
before.
18, wasn't it? Or
I think it was
17.
the season before. No. I don't think Michael was doing it for 3 years. I think it's his second season. His second season. Anyway, I might be wrong because, like, you know, I'm notoriously scatterbrained now. But what I'm saying is that in any case, even if it's like 2 years, 3 years, you know, Charlie he came up from, you know, he was in the sport for such a long time. You know,
He was
he
a
grew
mechanic
up.
for Brabham,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, he worked for Bernie anyway. You know, they were the whole team, and then him and Herbie. You know, and you know that team that they had. I mean, it's not just losing Charlie. You know, and I'm glad that they put Herbie back in there, because Herbie is fantastic. You know, I've sat alongside Herbie so many times, and you know, I'm sure right now his experience is invaluable. You know, he is really good at what he does. And they had another guy called Colin, you know, Colin Harewood, right? So they had removed Colin, they had removed Herbie, and you lost Charlie. So they completely wiped out the team that was there before, and they put a new group of people in. They're inexperienced. I mean, you know, no attack on them. Just simply, you know, they didn't have the years and years and years of experience that the other people had. So when you're trying to make those kind of split-second decisions, you know, if you've got 20 years of having made those kind of split-second decisions behind you, you've normally encountered something very similar previously. So it makes it a lot easier for you to make a decision at that moment. If you've only encountered it once or never before, and you have to suddenly make it up on that moment, you might get it right, you might get it wrong. So I think that, you know, in some ways, you know, you would want Michael to continue to build experience. But the problem is that when he continues, mistakes will come up. But I'm telling you now, there's going to be mistakes from anybody that goes in there, because you're dropping them into something that, you know, yes, like Eduardo has done years and years of sports car racing at the very high, and he's the best guy in the business, you know, for that. I mean, he's been doing Le Mans and whatever. He's been working for ACO for years, doing World Endurance Championship and everything. But that has that's its own animal. It has its own issues. Formula One is different. He has to, even no matter how good he is, he's going to have to learn how to operate in the Formula One environment, you know?
Yeah.
And he's going to have the respect.
It's kind of that's the kind of mentality of America these days. Is there's no 3 strikes, you're out anymore. It's hey, you've made a slight slip up, bang, you're out because we've got to please everyone.
Yeah, and that's great if you've got like 1,000 people lining up behind who are equally competent or even maybe better, or or at least equal, to move into the job. When you've got nobody behind, it's not a great strategy. So look, I mean, I'm just a fan, when it comes to Formula One and everything. I'm just a couch like anybody else. I'm just somebody that sits on the couch, looks at it from the outside. Yeah, I've spent my time, having run support races at a lot of Formula One Grand Prix and sat in race control and actually operated the race control. I have a slightly better view, and having worked with a lot of the people that we're talking about, I have a slightly better view of things, but I'm still inexperienced in terms of, really knowing the full ins and outs of what happens in a Formula One environment. So I try to read between the lines a bit, and with my knowledge to give a read, but I could be completely wrong. I could be 100% wrong.